Hello and welcome to Galactic Wisdom. My name is Rupert. I'm a space scientist, spiritual advisor, and alien contact specialist. And I'm going to be hosting Galactic Wisdom every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The goal of Galactic Wisdom is to give information, advice, and support to anyone who's interested in helping humanity to become more enlightened, wise, peaceful, and loving. Galactic Wisdom is here to help humanity ascend. Now, before saying anything else, I would like to welcome today's very special guest to this show, Laura Zollar. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Rupert. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Now, Laura Zollar is an intuitive reader, psychic, and professional fine artist who has witnessed a wide range of psychic phenomena. From seeing the dead to interactions with non-humans, Laura has access to a full bouquet of intuitive talents which help to guide and inspire her art. In the readings that she conducts on her YouTube channel, Zollar, Tarot and Art, Laura reads oracle and tarot cards while simultaneously drawing intuitive images. Well, I'm so happy that you could be here today for this first Galactic Wisdom show. It's wonderful to see you again.
Thank you, Rupert. It's good to see you too. What would you like to talk about?
Well, would you mind by starting off by telling us a little bit about what abilities you have that maybe typical human beings don't commonly have?
Well, and it's developed over time, but I inherited really strong intuitive abilities, all the clairs, clairvoyance, which is the ability to see, and equally strong, I have clairsentience, which is the ability to feel, which also pours into being an empath, a very strong empath, and a claircognizance. I even have I think it's called clairgustance, which is the ability to smell. So when I interact with the dead, sometimes there are smells associated with their personalities when they were alive, like cigarettes, say, or cologne or things like that. Or when I'm doing readings, I can pick up stuff that way too. So it's sort of a broad range, and it's just become stronger over the years as I've learned how to hone and use it. But it also allows me to see through disguises, and I've had a lot of interactions in both the waking realm and the dream realm with extraterrestrial beings and things like that. So it's sort of like a broad range of including mediumship.
That is fantastic. Can you remember the first experiences that you had that made you sit up and realize, oh, I can do something that other people can't?
Probably in early high school years, I realized that my art in particular was well above average. And of course, the artistic abilities go hand in hand with the intuitive abilities. But when you're younger, when you see things or know things and you blurt it out, people don't always like that, especially when you're a kid. So I had to learn to kind of bury that a little bit and not reveal everything that I saw or heard. So I would say it started in my childhood. And just sort of became stronger over the years through experiences.
So you would see things about people that they hadn't told you, and okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of my abilities. I'm sorry.
And do you still have that today?
Oh yeah, one of my abilities is to be able to hear other people's thoughts and to feel their feelings. So it wasn't confirmed until I was a young adult, and it was confirmed multiple times that I was picking up on people's thoughts, but they weren't actually saying it out loud. So, and they told me this multiple times. So that's when I really started to realize the telepathy was there, that I was picking up thoughts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And am I right that you have in your life at times had the perception of human spirits around you?
Yeah, I mean, that's been all my life. But I can feel them around me. Sometimes they touch my hair. I consider the ones who do that to be more my ancestors who are watching over me. But I can see and hear the dead in other ways. Sometimes they come in dreams, or sometimes I can see them standing right next to a person. Or I'll get symbols, or often if I'm like in water, a shower, a bath, that's another it's sort of like a conduit or a way for the dead to be able to come through more easily. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had a few people say to me recently that that water seems to help people with their psychic abilities or with connecting with people. I won't
Mm-hmm.
say who, but somebody the other day was telling me that they get visited a lot by alien beings
Yeah.
when they're in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much that the aliens are wanting to invade people's privacy, it
Yeah.
is that the water itself
Mm-hmm.
may have a positive effect on that communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the ways they do it, whether it's an extraterrestrial or the dead or something like that, one of the things they do is they'll press upon my sight inside, like my third eye, the psychic ability to see, and I keep thinking about him and keep thinking about it, and it's just like, oh, okay, now I acknowledge that this being is trying to talk to me, and then it becomes through really fast, like a download. So. Mm-hmm.
So do you actively in your life receive messages from human spirits?
Oh yeah, all the time. So whenever I'm around people, especially if I go out in public, I have to be careful to kind of be able to sort through all of that to see what's mine or what's not mine. Of course, I do collective or general readings on my tarot channel, so I'm picking a lot of information that I need to convey in a way that the group can digest or is applicable to them. So yeah, it just sort of is an ongoing thing. I just sort of, it's natural. It's like breathing water for me at this point. Yeah.
That's fantastic. This is the first Galactic Wisdom show, and it's possible my viewers don't know a lot about me, but I do alien contact events, and I have been hosting alien contact events, and during meditation or with my eyes closed, I have perceived images that come into my mind, and they're not the kind of images that I would just think up. Somebody has
Yeah.
placed those images there, and sometimes it's a challenge to know: am I interacting with a human or a non-human? I did have one case where in Texas I was in a circle of about 10 people, and I just got a very strong image of a leather surface with an embossed star on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to push this image away. It wouldn't go away, but this image just kept coming back in. And I finally said, okay, sorry, guys, but I think I'm receiving an image and it might be connected to somebody here. I told the group what the image was. And a lady in the group, she started crying and she said, yeah, I know what that image was. That's my pregnancy diary. And I lost the child. And we interpreted that the child was there and giving to this woman a message. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, that's mediumship. That's exactly how it works. That's right. And good for you for, accepting that and relaying the message too, because that's a brave thing, because you're wondering, like, is this person going to think I'm crazy? Or,
Yeah.
but you have to trust that your guides know what to filter and what not, and that you're getting accurate messages. So I know that you're extremely intuitive, Rupert, because I've known you for several years. So good for you. That's excellent. That's how it works. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Now, you described to me an experience that you had one time. I'm wondering if you can describe it to our viewers, of encountering a reptilian.
Yes, that was life changing. And this was back like in 2007. So it was quite a while ago. But, for so many years, I had in dreams or in other ways had glimpses of things, right? Even of extraterrestrials. But there was a woman I had gone to for a reading. She was a well known psychic in town. I guess she had a show at one of the casinos or something. I'm in Las Vegas, right? So a lot of weird things here. But the third time I interacted with her, she actually came to my house because she wanted to look at the artwork. And we were standing in my studio, and she was right underneath my light. So there was like no mistaking what was going on. There was no weird lighting or anything like that. And we were talking, and then she got quiet and she turned in profile. So I was looking at her profile, and she shifted from looking like a human to looking like a reptile. She had scales. Most of her hair was gone. There were just a few wisps. Her whole entire face structure changed. So like her brow got really low and pushed down, and her nose was flattened and down, and her chin got really long and was down. Yeah, there. I had drawn that exactly. And she was kind of hunched over, but she had definitely had greenish gray scales all over her skin. So I'm assuming she was reptilian because that's what it looked like to me. She even had like the black eyes from the side and everything. But by the time she turned back to me to look at me, and she had held it for quite a while, so I could see there was no mistaking it. When she turned back to me, she looked human again, and I was speechless. And I was just standing there screaming inside. I wasn't showing it outwardly, but she's a psychic. She knew exactly what had happened, and she kind of had a grin on her face, and she left right after that. And I said all the things like, thanks for coming. And I was just sort of in shock. And it took me an entire year to tell anybody about what I saw because it freaked me out that bad. We're programmed from our childhood to fear certain imagery. Like I remember shows like Land of the Lost and stuff like that, where, what are they called? Slee stacks. And they're like reptilian beings that would slowly chase all the humans and stuff like that. So we're programmed from childhood to fear certain images, but she didn't do anything to hurt me. And she was very brave and showed me the truth. And I am forever grateful for that, because for me, that solidified all these intuitive hits that I was getting about people around me not being human. There was something else. And then it just nailed it. It was like, okay, now I know, I've got proof. I saw it with my own eyes. So, it was fantastic, but it was also at the time very scary. Life-altering. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
just,
it was.
just so I can sort of pull out of that the simple conclusion that we can make from that, and you're not the only person that's told me this, but in Las Vegas and most likely in other places around the world, there are people walking around who appear to be human beings, but they're actually not. And this being, this reptilian woman, had the disguise of a human, and because you were sort of putting out psychic questions, are you? She was kind to you. She wasn't trying to scare you. She decided, I'm going to let this woman know the truth.
Yeah. Exactly. And I had, from the very first time I had met her, and the first couple times we're at her residence, I had been asking in my head, because I felt immediately, this person is not who she appears to be. This is something else. And so in my head, I was asking, what are you? What are you? Who are you? And it was that third time she finally showed me. So it was a gift. It was a great thing. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And because when I heard stories from you and from other people about your experiences in Las Vegas, I did a little bit of research. I saw one or two more publicly available accounts of people running into reptilians in Las Vegas. And so I decided a few years ago to host an event in Cornerstone Park called Reptilians Invited. And I've got a photo from one of those Reptilian Invited events that I hosted in Cornerstone Park. And there you are. Just
I weighed a lot more back then, but yeah. That's an old photo. Yeah.
And we met there, and our purpose for meeting there was to invite any people along who were actually reptilian, and to encourage them to come along, and so we could get their side of the story, so we could ask about them. We wanted to reach out to them in friendship. I'm going to be distracted because I've got a woodpecker on my roof here pecking away. I hope you guys can't hear that too loudly. But on one of the occasions, I'm not sure if you were there. Were you there on one of the occasions where a lady did turn up who seemed decidedly non-human?
I don't know if I was at that particular one. I mean, the one that I attended, there were a couple people there that I thought definitely had strong reptilian tendencies, one woman in particular, and I thought I saw her eyes shift, but when I talked to her, she didn't confirm it or anything, so I can't tell you for sure. Yeah.
Okay. But after that event, soon afterwards, I was hosting a alien contact event in Texas, and I started to feel like something was touching my forehead, and it was quite strong. And I turned around to the psychics in the group and said, "Hey, can can anybody see anything touching me? And one of the psychics there said, yep, there's a reptilian touching your forehead there. And I spoke aloud to the reptilians and I said, hey, thank you very much for being here. We actually held an event a few weeks ago where we reached out in peace to reptilians, and the response from the reptilian was, yeah, we know. That's why we're here. We're here to in friendship and to protect you.
Nice.
And so, ever since meeting you, hearing your story, we and hosting that event, we have had reptilians coming along to our events. We had a child reptilian come to one of our events and give another one of my psychic friends a nice big hug. And recently, a couple of months ago in Kansas, a professional spiritual energetic healer who had a rough day of healing people at a spiritual convention, she saw a reptilian appear very close to her. It identified itself as Icod. That's its name, Icod. And it proceeded to heal her because she was feeling pretty rough. And by the end of the event, she was fully healed. So it seems that, reptilians have a bad reputation in a lot of circles, but I've only ever had positive experiences with them.
Me too. So I feel like just like humans, there's a range of good and bad ones. I think that also applies to any other species.
Yeah. Now, am I right that when you were younger, you had an experience with a gray-like being?
When I first moved to Vegas, which was like 30 years ago, a long time ago, I started having a series of dreams. And there was a vision dream I had, which I feel like are different than regular dreams. Regular dreams, you just kind of work things out and work fears out, things like that, which is different. Vision dreams are when they're really, really clear and it's like I'm there, right? So I had this vision dream where there was something in my closet and I told it to come out, and there was a little gray guy, one of the short grays with the big eyes. Yeah, like that. Exactly. Yeah, I drew that. Yeah. So I forgot about that. Yeah, so he came out of my closet and I said, it's okay, you don't need to worry. And then he took me to this like other place where there was this huge like judge's pulpit, but I couldn't see who was behind it, but I had the distinct feeling I was being judged. I was new to Vegas, they were evaluating me and all of that. And then the little gray guy took me back to my room and I hugged him and he went back in my closet and disappeared. And then I woke up. So there was that. I had a series of other things go on during that time. Like I was awake and I had popped out of my body and saw a crop circle being pushed into the ground at night in another country. I think it was in England. And I was wide awake when that happened. And another one where I was dropped into my bed and I was awake and my whole entire bed went down when I dropped down. It was just like a lot of weird stuff happening during that time. And this was before I saw the reptilian woman, before she came to my home. But yeah, so and that's just like I've had tons of dreams with ETs and everything over the years since then. So
That is awesome. And I recall the last time I was a guest in your home. I was asleep and I suddenly started to get this feeling, it's not a dream. It's like sleep paralysis. I didn't get full on sleep paralysis, but my spirit turned and looked to my left, and there was a little gray-like head right there, like a foot away from me. And when something like that happens in the night, even though I love all beings in the universe, it did sort of stun me a little bit, and I had to fight away that little bit of tension, and I said, okay, thank you for being here. And then I realized that there was a being right behind me, and I turned and sit sort of on hands and knees on my pillow. There was this being with its head look really up close to me, looking at me like this, and I just reached up and I just gently cupped its face in my hands just to say, thank you for being here. You're welcome. There's a lot of positive energy in your household. So
Thank you. I work on it all the time. I'm constantly cleansing, whether it's through saging and sound to salt baths, all kinds of things. And so I keep my space really clean. I do it every day. It's a daily practice now. Because, I've had some experience with what you might call spiritual warfare and everything. And it really pushed me to a different level of protection and awareness of all of the energy around me, especially in my home where I dwell most of the time. So I'm really glad that you felt the good energy here. That pleases me. That's nice. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm seeing that we actually have quite a lot of comments. People have been putting up there. I'd like to say, hello, Laurie. Thank you for being here. And Melissa Blackman is here. Hello. Thank you also for being here. I see. She's saying hi to Laurie. She's not saying hi to me.
It's Laura. But thank you.
That's okay. I know Melissa. So I'm just playing around with what I can do on my screen here with seeing different. There she go. There she was. I missed her earlier comment. Good evening to you, Melissa, and thank you very much for your welcome. And there's quite a lot of comments here. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to look at all of them. But Anne has asked, can we ask psychic questions today? Well, thank you very much for that question, Anne. And a little bit later in the show, I like the idea of maybe giving you the opportunity, yes, to answer, to ask some questions, and maybe Laura and myself can try and answer. But I want to ask you first, Laura. You've had other experiences with beings who are not human, but they're walking around. I've heard that is it Trader Joe's is a good place to go in Vegas if you want.
There was one in particular. I was standing in line to check out at Trader Joe's, and I don't even go there very often, but this was years ago. And there was an unusual looking man standing right in front of me. He was extremely tall, extremely thin. He was very pale. He had sort of white blonde, shoulder length, very, very thin, fine hair. Really a beautiful person to look at, but very unusual. And I was standing right behind him, and I feel like I could see him properly because he was right there, and I have the ability to look through disguises. But I noticed that nobody else was looking at him, but he was looking all around, and I thought, I'm just going to try something. And I decided to talk to him telepathically. And I said things like, well, you're just like a walking antenna, aren't you? And I said, I kind of felt like he wasn't human. And I was just like, what are you? And welcome and everything. And he turned around all the way around and looked at me, and he looked scared. He heard me. I could tell he heard me. And then he quickly, moved through the line and even dropped his pen. He was really nervous at that point. I wasn't trying to scare him or anything. And then he disappeared quickly, and I couldn't check out fast enough to see where he'd gone because I wanted to talk to him. But, he had a very benign feel about him. It was very gentle and everything. But what was weird was, like, a few years later, I saw a video about a congressional meeting where they had talked about the tall whites who are stationed near Las Vegas. A lot of people have seen them and heard of them and everything, and I had never heard of them before. And they described what they look like and everything, and I'm like, that's what I saw. That was a tall white. That's exactly what I saw. So, because I just didn't know at the time, what label to give him or anything. I just knew he was unusual and he could hear me. So, yeah, telepathically.
That's wonderful.
And it was cool.
So when you were asking those questions, it was just in your mind. You weren't verbalizing anything, and he could hear what you were speaking in your mind.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of humans are not really very aware of their thoughts. Like, it's just a jumble of chaos and criticisms and all that stuff. But I have learned to really control my thoughts over the years and to direct my thoughts and to listen. So I'm not saying I did it perfectly or anything, but I know that he heard me, and I was definitely directing my thoughts to him, in a loving way. I wasn't trying to, like, alarm him or anything. Yeah. It was just more of a lesson experiment on my part, but it worked. So
yeah. And of course, there is a documentary. It's not my documentary, but I think a guy, something like James Charles hall. I can't remember, but there was this guy who's features in a documentary called Walking with Tall Whites. There's the name of
Yeah,
the documentary.
I think the character that he talked about most was called Range Horse Harry. Was that it?
Range for Harry.
Range for Harry. That's it. Yeah, I read the books a long time ago,
Oh, okay.
but it was definitely after I saw my own tall white, so it wasn't. I had no information before that incident happened. But those are good. That's a good series. Yeah.
Yeah. And just for the benefit of people watching, if you haven't watched this documentary or read the books, Walking with Tall Whites, it's fascinating because this guy who was in the military, the Air Force, I think, he was stationed out. Is it Indian Springs? Is that an area out there?
I don't remember what it's called, but it was definitely military based. But
Yeah.
he was way out in nowhere, kind of by himself to monitor this area, and that's when he started interacting with the tall whites. Yeah, near
Yeah.
Vegas, near Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, and now that base is called Creech Air Force Base.
Oh.
And obviously you can't get into Creech Air Force Base, but we went out there and did some alien contact events as close on public land as we could get to them. And over the course of about 3 years, when we went out time after time after time, we started to get their craft appearing to us in the sky. Some really spectacular sightings. And we started to remote view to the tall whites that are out there because they live in the desert out there. They have an arrangement with the military out there that they can stay in that area of the desert. They can live there on military land in these ranges, and in exchange for being able to live out there in peace with the military, they help the Air Force with technology.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to build up a relationship with these tall whites. And we actually got invited one time by these tall whites to go out further into the desert. We saw them beckoning us, come out this way, come out this way. So in 2022, in the summer, I went out. I drove it was a 4-hour drive with a group of about 20 people. We camped there. And we meditated and we reached out to them and we saw them and we talked to them. We didn't talk to Range for Harry or Harry, but we did talk to one of them called George. They pick easy human names, Earth names, because the way they pronounce their names is far too hard for us to hear, understand, and say back. But yeah, we had that relationship with them, and I recorded on video one of their luminous vessels ducking down behind a mountain just before we went to sleep there.
Oh,
And the
that's
last time I
amazing.
was in Vegas, I took out my camera in another location, and I just tuned into that moment where I'd seen their vessel come out of the sky and duck down. And I said, "Hey," in my mind, "you couldn't do that again for me, could you?" And they did. And I've got both of those on video, so I will share that with my audience next week. Now, another being that I've had a lot of interactions with, and I think you have connected with her also, Tuk Tuk.
Yeah, the Arcturian. I remember when we were working with her before.
So this being, Tuk Tuk, came to us, and I'm going to show you an image that you drew. Now, there we go. Tuk Tuk. And you'd written down that you thought she may be from Orion. Now, this is a being that likes to heal people, and we were in a Zoom meeting where we tried to connect with any healing being. Tuk Tuk came through, and several people around the world, when I asked the question, "What is your name?" all heard either Tuk Tuk or Takta or something very, very similar to that name. But then we started to realize, well, maybe this being is not humanoid because she doesn't seem to fit the description of other other humanoid aliens, we remote viewed to her and asked her, please show us your true form. And you were also in that session. I don't know if you remember this image. We all started
Oh
to
yeah.
see
Hmm.
not a humanoid being, but a teardrop shaped
Hmm.
being living in an ocean world with mountains in the background.
Hmm.
And I drew my perception of her during that same event
Hmm.
there, which is very similar to yours. Do you, I'll put that back up again.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
do you recall
nice.
any interactions with Tuk Tuk, or is this too long ago to easily remember?
I can tell you my impression. Yeah, I remember her. She's very gentle, loving, has a sort of a sweet motherly kind of energy. That's how I experienced her. Definitely healer. And she has, for some reason, she's very interested in having contact with humans. So I liked her. I thought she had a wonderful, benevolent energy, and I would definitely work with her again for sure. Yeah. I haven't contacted her in a while, so thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, I would like to hear a little bit about your art. Can you tell us about what kind of art you create?
Well, you can see some of the pieces in the background, the peacock feather, and then, of course, my tree of life, which is also behind me on my other side. So, yeah, yeah, there you go. That's the tree of life. It was put into a 20-foot format, so I'm standing in front of it. I have a degree in fine art. I've always been an artist. It definitely runs in my family, mostly from the Native American side of my family. Some of the intuitive of talent comes from that side too. And I've just always been an artist from a very young age. My mother said even as a toddler I was drawing full faces and people were kind of commenting on it. And I won like a citywide contest for drawing in first grade. So it was early on that I started being kind of noticed for it. And my parents just didn't really like make a big deal out of it, although they never stopped me either, which I've actually thanked them for that, because I know a lot of parents shut their children down with regard to creativity, but not me. And so, I went on to get my degree in fine art. I've had many, many shows over many years, and this has, been my profession. I've always been in the creative profession. That's the dragonfly piece there. But it goes hand in hand with my intuitive abilities, and mostly my art is intuitive. I actually rarely use references, but I also tend to paint a lot of deities, and I don't think you have any of that artwork, but I work with a lot of ascended masters and deities, and there's a whole queue of them lined up to be painted. So I've painted a few of them, and I consider them to be allies. If I call upon the etheric realm for protection, it's more than just my ancestors. It's more than just Great Spirit. It's also the deities that I've worked with and established a relationship with. So it's a pretty broad range of beings, but I do love what I do, and I will always be an artist. So the tarot channel's been nice because I've been able to combine my artistic abilities. So I meditate to receive an image that goes with the reading that's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so I know what the image is. I don't know always what the reading is about. And there's usually a song too that I hear that's associated with the reading. And so then I do the reading. I start the drawing, and then I do the whole spread. And I have separately filmed myself completing the drawing, which I overlay. So it's sort of a split screen, and you can watch me draw that image for that reading, for the collective watching, the general reading, and the cards being pulled, and then I tie it all together. It's actually about 20 to 30 minutes, so it's not really as long as it sounds. And at the very end, you get to see the finished piece. And so when people are watching, what they're getting is not only a visual and being able to watch me create the visual that I saw, but also to receive the intuitive messages that are coming through for them. Yeah.
So let me try and understand this. When you're doing one of these shows or videos,
Mm-hmm.
you have an audience member that or a friend or a guest who you're doing a reading of.
No, no, it's a collective reading. It's a general reading. So what I tell everybody when they get into the reading is, because the readings are free, they're just on YouTube, it doesn't cost anything, is that if you're here, there's probably something for you, a message of some sort. But if something doesn't fit, don't try to force it to fit. It might be for somebody else. So usually the readings are, detailed enough with plenty of information so that if a person does intuitively feel like they want to watch the reading, there will be a message there for them. And I have received plenty of feedback from many, many people that this is so. Yeah. And if nothing else, then they can at least be inspired by the drawing, and which will trigger their own creative abilities, which is, to me, that's like, this is truly a fulfilling thing for me to inspire others to create as well, because they're accessing that side of the brain that is the mystery, that is the intuitive, that is the connection to Great Spirit, right, or God, or whatever you call your spiritual host. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is what your YouTube channel looks like, in case
Yeah.
anybody's interested in checking it out. I love the color, so colorful, and you can
Thank
see
you.
some beautiful images that you've drawn there. If anybody's interested in checking out Laura's website, you can go to laurazollar.com. And if anybody is interested in going to her YouTube channel and seeing some of her tarot readings while simultaneously drawing, there is her YouTube channel link. Now, a few months ago, I said, "Hey, Laura, I don't suppose you would mind creating a piece of artwork for me for my book."
That's right.
I have written a book called Realities. It's actually a science fiction novel, but it contains within it a lot of information about the paranormal, spiritual, extra dimensions. Am I right that you read that once?
I did. I read the whole book, and I'm actually rereading it now. It's actually a great story, Rupert, and you have some really well developed, interesting characters, and it kind of expands your mind because you're interacting with you're reading about beings who are part of a bigger community or universe, right? And there's a lot of time travel, a lot of spaceship type stuff. Oh, there's the book, yeah. So I definitely recommend people read it. It's a good story for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for your positive feedback on that.
Yeah.
And if there's the book, and you can see the cover. This is a cover that Laura painted, and this is a zoomed in image of some of the artwork. How do you go about producing a piece of art like that? And do you use your intuitive, your spiritual abilities when you produce a piece of art like this?
Absolutely. I go sort of into a zone. It doesn't mean I don't rationally understand what I'm doing. I do rationally understand it, but for me, painting is sort of second nature now, or any kind of art, and I just allow my intuitive beingness to flow through, so that, and as long as I trust it and everything, the art, comes out nice. But I have had a ton of training. I mean, I do have a degree in art, so I really try to give it my best to always produce high quality. But the imagery itself, it's just sort of like I see it in my mind, and that's my guide. I trust that I'm receiving the proper information. And so far, it's been accurate whenever I work on a project or do anything any remotely like that. As a matter of fact, I even have paintings of deities where, like, there's one called Xochiquetzal, which is a very strangely spelled name. It's Aztec, and that deity was coming through, and I just got an image in my head, and I painted her. And you don't have that file, but you can see it on my website. But I even did this whole like Aztec headdress and everything. And it wasn't until I had actually completed the painting that I went and did the research on the royalty and their headdresses and everything. And I had painted it accurately according to that pantheon, that deity too. And so that was kind of nice confirmation that, that my intuition was correct. And it was good that I did it that way without any kind of restrictions. So yeah, but it was accurate.
That is wonderful. Now you're referring to deities. In English, I would say deities, but what are they?
Well, deities can be from different cultures. So I paint from different cultures. They come to me. So, for instance, I painted Ganesha, who is from the Indian culture. He's Hindu. And he was very strong because that's part of his personality, is to break through obstacles and be very persistent. So I was not surprised that he was working on me for many years. And if I waited too long to finish the painting, he'd get on me again. And like I would see his name everywhere, his image would show up everywhere until I got on it again. Some of the other deities are not as persistent, but they're always there. So I have, like I said, Sache Quetzal's Aztec. I'm finishing up Kuan Yin, which is from the Chinese culture. And that's been like a 20-year piece. What else? Hecate, I'm working on her. She has been part of actually multiple cultures, including the Greek and Roman cultures. I just find that if I go with the ones that are strongest that come through, and they're usually feminine deities, although I've painted a few of the male deities too, that it works out well. I even work with ascended masters like my Tree of Life, which you can see in the background over here. When I was first painting that, about halfway through the piece, because when you're painting a piece, you're working up close, right? Because there's a lot of detail, and then you pull back every now and then to look and see the overall composition. And when I pulled back, I saw the face, and I'm not kidding you, of Jesus. It was full. It filled up the whole thing, and he was looking right at me three-dimensionally with the beard, all of that stuff, very recognizable. And I had never really worked with him before. It was not part of my upbringing or anything, but he was making himself known as an ascended master within the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is an appropriate symbol for him too, because it is part of that culture as well. So, just things like that happen. It is weird, but it's pretty magical, and I actually love that process. So, more ascended masters, the better. And now I work with him all the time and his whole family. So it just adds on more to my family, sort of, so to speak. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got a lot of questions I want to ask you. I'm not sure we'll get enough time to ask them all. I might have to ask you to come back another time.
Okay.
But the process of using tarot cards, of doing a reading with tarot cards. So using these bits of cardboard to gain insight into non-physical things, to gain insight in a spiritual or a psychic way.
Right.
And you've given me a reading before. I've seen the process. To the best of your ability, how does that work?
Well, they're symbols basically on every one of the cards. Actually, the cards are complicated, so there are multiple symbols. But I've read tarot and oracle for over 30 years. And I never turned it into a profession or did anything like that. It was just something I was always drawn to. But I find symbolism, which is also in my artwork, just really ties us together. It's an important element. And so the cards have multiple symbols on them. If you're working with tarot, there's a whole structure for the different cards' meanings. Oracle's a little looser. And I use both in my tarot channel. And I watch for what symbols stand out. Where I place the cards also makes a difference, because the card's meaning on top of a certain placement next to other cards has a complicated meaning. The symbols have multiple meanings. And then I'm also getting intuitive hits, right? And I'm also tying that into a drawing and usually a song. And so there are multiple messages coming in at once, and I kind of tie it all together and bring it together in a smooth way so everybody can understand what I'm seeing, so they can get the messages. But it is kind of complicated. It's not something someone can learn in a day, for instance. You have to probably take several years to learn all aspects of it. Yeah, and I still don't feel like I know all of it. I mean, it's a very deep art. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, we've had one or two people ask, can they ask questions of a psychic nature? Now, if this was one of your readings, what you would be doing, am I right, is that you would just see if there are any messages coming through for any of our viewers without taking specific questions. Is that right?
Well, what I do is heavy meditation. I do heavy meditation all the time, but especially right before a reading, and cleanse the area, things like that. And I specifically talk to my guides, to Great Spirit, and I ask for the messages that are most pertinent, that need to come through for the collective watching. So I'm really clear with my guides about what I want. And then after that, I just sort of let go of any control and allow the messages to come through for the actual reading. So, yeah. It's like a trust fall. It's sort of trusting every single time, but fortunately it's been very accurate so far. So, it might be that someone's on there who is only receiving a little bit of the information that they need. Maybe it's mostly for someone else, or they might feel like the whole entire reading is spot on for them. It really just depends. I'm just receiving the messages that need to be heard the most. You could put it that way. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I apologize for putting you on the spot, and feel free to decline this request if you want to, but we have a little over 5 minutes left. Do you think that if you were to close your eyes, become a little bit meditative, and just sort of reach out to see if there are any beings, any aliens, any spirits that might want to relay any messages to our audience today, then maybe we could try that.
Okay. Give me 1 minute and I'll tap in.
Okay. And while Laura's doing that, I'm just going to share her YouTube channel again. laurazollar.com. Sorry, laurazollar.com, that's her art website. And there is her YouTube channel. And while she is thinking and tuning in spiritually to any beings that are here, any messages that she has, if anybody is interested in learning more about this channel and my activities, you can join us in our Facebook group, Galactic Wisdom. And okay. Yes, Laura.
All right, so I did pull 3 cards. I'll show you here just to zero in on it and with the messages that I was getting. So what we have here are 3 major arcana cards. So the tarot is broken up into major and minor arcana. When you get major arcana cards, there's definitely a stronger message than minor. So you've got you've got 2 major and 1 minor. So the Queen of Wands, the Lovers, and the Emperor. So it tells me that you have an audience here who's definitely bossing up. They're definitely more in control of their life, more awake, which would make sense anyway. Some people who are definitely following their passion and starting to own their personal power. That's the Queen of Wands. This is someone who's very alive, who is very passionate and knows their own power. Like they have pulled back into their. So I would say that your audience in general is going to be much more aware, much more powerful, have personal power. So otherwise they would really be able to follow along with what we're saying anyway. And I see that they're not doing this alone. So, I would say for sure that what I've been feeling in the collective is that we're starting to come together with our soul groups more. We're sloughing off or letting go of toxic relationships, beliefs, and things, which we need to do if we're going to evolve as a community, right? So, and then it's more of finding our soul tribe, and that's not necessarily your own family. It could be, but it's like finding your new family. It's not even a new family. It's like souls that have been with you in other lifetimes and everything, but moving on more of a high vibration, because we need to be around people who vibe the same way we do. So I see your collective here as being very wise and following their passion, finding their tribe, and bossing up. And that's what we need to do. Like for instance, like what I've been getting a message, what I've been thinking about a lot in the last couple of days is how it's really time for us to be aware and step up into more of a bigger galactic community. We are part of a bigger galactic community, but humans have been kind of, it's kind of been suppressed. It's been pushed down. We've been taught to fear certain images or certain ideas about extraterrestrials or things like that, right? So, but what we need to do really as a collective is clear up our inner traumas. And I talk about this a lot on my tarot channel, is clear up all of your childhood traumas so you don't carry those burdens around. You can clear up your thoughts, because moving into a bigger galactic community and actually interacting with them, like in commerce or anything else, they are telepathic. It's 5D. So we need to be able to do this as well. We need to not only develop our telepathic abilities, we need to clean up our thoughts. We need to clean up our thoughts so we're not criticizing ourselves, we're not criticizing others. We actually have benign and loving thoughts. We're coming from our heart, right? That's going to get us a place at the table with the rest of the beings out there that are part of this bigger galactic community, and it won't be a secret anymore. So we're rapidly moving into that. That's how I feel, is that we're becoming much more aware, but we have to work on ourselves. We have to be quality inside of ourselves and the way we treat ourselves. So that's that's part of the bossing up, right? So is really taking responsibility and control for our own thoughts and our own way of being, what kind of energy we're putting out there, so that we are worthy of having a place at the table with these other highly intelligent telepathic beings.
Absolutely. And Laurie has got it right there. We are a family. And, you and I, Laura, I think we're both very strongly, very acutely aware that on this planet right now, there are some problems. We've literally got forces that are working on the side of light and love and positivity and trying to move us towards ascension. And we have got literally some forces that are much darker, trying to push us the other way. And we, as individual human beings, can choose which side to be on. And it's not just the actions that people see us doing. It matters what we do, even when nobody's watching. Every thought has an impact on the universe and on others. So I love what you're saying about, we need to stop criticizing ourselves. We need to stop criticizing others. I see so many Facebook posts and other social media posts every single day where people are taking jabs at other people, where people are criticizing, complaining. And there's going to be no justice resolution that comes out of doing that. There's going to be nothing positive that comes out of doing that. And so if we could suggest maybe one way that our family of viewers and listeners could really pick up a little bit of galactic wisdom, of alien level wisdom, is to really think about every thought, every post, every comment that they make in the coming days, and just wash away all that negativity. Wash it away.
It's finding a personal peace inside of yourself. You have to start with yourself if you want the world to change. You have to have peace inside of yourself and put down that chaos, put down the ugly energies and everything, and find your own inner beauty, your own inner glow. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Laura, as Bill joined us.
Yes, I just want to say, because we got like less than a minute, but congratulations, Rupert, on your first show, Galactic Wisdom.
Yeah, congratulations.
And a great first guest with Laura here. So
thank you.
Congratulations. I just wanted to come on and say that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody out there who is listening to this live or after the event. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.